Number 5. Bhangarh Fort. Now, if you Google Bhangarh Fort, if you're planning a trip up there anytime soon, almost every result will give you back something like India's most notorious or India's most haunted, so maybe that should give you a bit of a sense as to what's going on here. It's bad news. In fact, the place is said to be so filled to bursting with malevolent spirits that the Indian government actually restricts tourists from visiting after sunset for fear of spiritual danger. Let's take a look at the history of the Bhangarh Fort, one of the most notorious haunted places in India if the search engine is anything to go by. The fort was first built in the 17th century, and according to local legends, a religious ascetic lived nearby to the fort and insisted that any house built near the fort shouldn't be taller than his own house. Not sure why, but he just didn't want to be upstaged, I guess. If the shadow of any house fell on his own, he would destroy the fort, he threatened. When columns were added to the fort that casted a shadow, the fort was destroyed and abandoned seemingly overnight. Now, a variant of this legend suggests that a priest who practiced black magic and was a practitioner of the occult was in love with a princess who lived in the fort. He offered her a love elixir, and when she refused his proposal, he cursed the entire village, condemning it to be damned by the spirits for eternity. Locals claim that walking by the Bhangarh Fort, you can hear women screaming and crying from within at night, and strange otherworldly music can be heard playing seemingly from nowhere. Other residents claim that they see shadowy wisps or ethereal lights coming out of the fort's structure, alongside strange smells? What does a ghost smell like, I wonder? You know what? Don't let me know. That's maybe one that's better left not knowing. The reason for the ban after sunset is because local legends say that any person who enters the fort during the night will never be seen again and will become one of the spirits trapped inside. So maybe just stay within the guidelines and follow the signs just this once. And if you're looking for more videos about haunted hotspots, alien sightings, cryptids, creepy crawlies, and basically just about anything scary under the sun and above it, well, Top 5 Scary has all of that and then some. So click on through, subscribe, stay scared, and don't miss a single scream. But do that after you finish watching this video, okay? We worked hardish on it. Number 4. Tunnel 33. Shimla is said to be one of the most beautiful cities in the entire country of India and happens to also be home to some of the more haunted hotspots. Now, this one in particular might not be as scary as some of the other ones in this list. I thought maybe I'd give you a little break before we really got into it. But this ghost has been described as a lot friendlier than your average spirit, more of a Casper, if you will. Tunnel 33 is the longest tunnel in the Kalka-Shimla railway track, built in the late 18th century in 1898. British railway engineer Colonel Balrog was the man in charge of constructing the project. Colonel Balrog, I'm pretty sure he was a Street Fighter character. Colonel Balrog was given a thin deadline and he failed to meet expectations for the tunnel, leading to him being humiliated in his career after the British government was understandably pretty upset with him. Distraught, completely despondent, he ended up taking his own life and was buried near the incomplete tunnel on the railroad tracks, where his spirit has remained ever since. Residents report seeing apparitions of the good colonel through the tunnel, sometimes saying they see him standing, admiring his work, riding his horse, or if you really believe some of the more out there stories, he's even been seen talking to tourists and locals as they pass through, asking questions about his tunnel and if the project is going well and if they're meeting deadlines. The poor guy is still so focused on his work all these years later. Take a break, man, for us, please. A phantasmal 15. You've earned it. There's something very sad about a ghost who's stuck on the land he worked on, unable to move on. He's not interested in haunting or scaring anyone, but just doomed to check in on a project he never got to see completed. If you ever visit the accursed tunnel, and if you happen to see the colonel, tell him thank you, won't you? For me, okay? Tell him that the tunnel looks great and he did a good job. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. Number 3. Ramoji Film City. Ramoji Film City is one of the biggest film sets in the country. In fact, it's actually one of the largest film complexes in the entire world. I mean, it's a film city. How many other film cities are there really? It's a big attraction for movie lovers who come the world over to see its extravagant displays and exhibits, but also entices paranormal hunters looking for proof of the other world. And there's a little something for everyone here, you know? It's a real family place. So where does the haunting come from? Do the ghosts just love the silver screen? Well, Ramoji Film City was allegedly built on an old Nizam battleground. The Nizam of Hyderabad was the ruling caste of the area in the 18th century. Now, if these stories are true and it is built on an old battlefield, then it makes sense that there would be a good amount of lingering evil and restless spirits trapped in the soil that haven't moved on. Dying violently tends to make ghosts. Guests of the film city claim that while visiting, lights will flicker and turn on and off at random. Now, that could be bad wiring, but it also could be troublesome spirits. Where things get kind of spooky is the reports of crew members on film sets getting injured under mysterious circumstances, equipment malfunctioning, or outright being destroyed in front of people's very eyes. And these are some of the more common reports of things happening on the cursed set. Women in particular have felt targeted by the ghosts or spirits in the Ramoji Film City. Actresses have claimed that they felt like they were being watched in their green rooms, or even feeling a supernatural tugging at their clothes during filming. Now, I'm sure they make all kinds of genres of movie at the Ramoji Film City, but if you want my professional advice, I think they should definitely consider filming a horror movie there. It sounds like they would save a ton on the special effects budget, or maybe they could make a documentary. Do you need to pay a ghost if you're gonna have a ghost in a movie? Do ghosts still have the same workers' rights? Somebody look into that for me. Number 2, the Charleville Mansion. We're headed back to Shimla for this next one. It sounds like if you're booking a trip to India to take in the sights and the spirits, Shimla is the #1 place to be. Beautiful and filled with ghosts. Once you're done checking out the tunnel, take a trip to the Charleville Mansion, said to be the home to an old poltergeist. It's a century-old abandoned fort built during the British rule, and its first owner was a British officer whose name has seemingly been lost to time. Probably something like Wilford Brimley, though that's a different guy. When the officer and his wife moved into the mansion in 1913, they were unaware of the rumors surrounding it, and they just thought they were getting a great deal on rent. A previous owner had already fled the property because of the hauntings that had taken place. They said that there was a ghostly figure that would slowly apparate in the middle of the night and would smash objects and throw them around the house. Now, despite this house being haunted, the officer himself didn't personally believe in ghosts. He wanted to test this theory of whether or not there was a poltergeist in his home, and so he locked all of the doors in his house and waited, just sat there twiddling his thumbs, tapping his feet, waiting for a ghost to approach. Well, lo and behold, after locking all the doors, he heard a crash upstairs and ran upstairs, opened the door, and found that this one room had all of the furniture and all of the mirrors just utterly demolished. I think he moved out the same week. They say he moved out shortly after, but I can't even imagine he finished packing his bags. Now, the next owner was one Victor Bailey, an assistant secretary working on the railway construction at the time, and I gotta say, there must be some really bad vibes at the Shimla Railway if 2 entries on this list involve it. Anyway, the Baileys moved into the mansion, and at first it seemed like a great deal. Beautiful mansion secluded away from the rest of the world. Until one day at a dinner party, one of their guests reported that he was talking to a lovely English gentleman. Victor Bailey was a bit confused, and when he went back to go introduce himself to this guest, he watched the man disappear into the room the poltergeist destroyed, just vanished out of thin air, and the Baileys packed their bags and left shortly after. The mansion is now deserted and is a hotspot for paranormal activity, so enter if you dare. I actually don't even know if you can go in. Look into that maybe. Number 1, Dumas Beach. We all love a good beach vacation. If you're looking for somewhere sweet to lay back while sipping on something sweet, India is full of some beautiful beaches. But we are not here to talk about anything lovely, okay? This isn't top 5 lovely, although that would be just delightful. I would love to work on top 5 lovely if we're ever gonna make that a channel. Maybe you guys are listening. We're going to Dumas Beach, located along the Arabian Sea in Gujarat. The first thing you'll notice about this beach that stands out is the black sand, which is already pretty unnerving. Most beaches don't look like that. The local folklore says that Dumas Beach used to be a burial ground for Hindu people, and as such, generations of spirits are ingrained into the sand. Building on this legend says that the reason for the obsidian-colored sand is years worth of cremated ash by the burning of the dead, eventually overtaking the sand on the beach. So, I don't know, if you're thinking about making a sand castle, maybe think twice about that. Maybe keep the flip-flops on too, okay? So what do people say about the spirits out there? Well, it's been said there's a negative aura present in the air, and even just while visiting, tourists and residents say they can feel this sense of dread that something is wrong immediately walking around there. Locals say that the spirits of the dead walk down the beach at night, and visitors claim to hear inexplicable voices, scary laughter, and crying. So if you want a nice, long, romantic walk down the beach in India, just keep in mind that you're gonna have a bit of an audience with you. Some people go so far as to say that there's been apparition, floating orbs seen around the beach. I was having a bit of trouble finding any photos of any ghost sightings around the beach. People say dogs behave strangely, walking through it, howling and barking. There are some who believe that the animals can see spirits we can't, and this could be evidence of that. Now, the most extreme legends say that the tourists go missing around midnight on the beach, but I want to believe if people kept going missing on a beach, they'd shut it down, but I don't know. I've seen Jaws. I know that's not actually that likely.
Number 5 on this list is the D'Souza Chawl. For those who aren't aware, because I wasn't until I looked it up, a chawl, according to Google, is a type of residential building found in Western India similar to a tenement. Typically low quality housing, chawls are generally associated with poverty. So that's a chawl, and the one in particular that we're looking at is one that's located in Mumbai. What's unique though is that it isn't the entire chawl that's haunted. It's actually just one specific spot in it, the well. Directly in the center of this building is a well. This well is lined on either side by houses of this chawl and is very enclosed. One day many years ago, a woman who lived in this building was going down to collect water from the well. As you can probably expect, it didn't go how she'd hoped and she fell inside. The fall was enough to end her life, and her body was later discovered at the bottom of the well. Her body was later extracted from that well, but her spirit never left. Ever since that tragic incident, the current residents of the chawl have seen her spirit wandering the halls throughout the night. Her wails and cries can be heard all around the chawl as well, with the loudest instances happening by the well. She appears in white, and even though her white gown is clean and beautiful, her face is battered, assumingly from the tumble that she took down the well. So far, she hasn't claimed any other lives like some of the other ghostly entries on this list, but her incessant crying and mere existence is enough to make anyone lose their mind. Number 4 on this list is Dumas Beach. Dumas Beach is a very pretty black sand beach that's located in Gujarat on the Arabian Sea. This place is said to be stunning in the daytime and has even been described as a look-alike to God's home. When the sun goes down though, everything changes. Dumas Beach hasn't always been a fun daytime tourist attraction. It actually used to be an ancient burial ground. It's believed that for many centuries this beach was a very important Hindu cremation site. In fact, that's why people believe some of the sand is black. The ashes of those who were cremated got mixed in with the white sand and slowly over time changed the color to what it is today. It's believed that the spirits of those who were cremated here still haunt the beach when the moon comes out. Glowing orbs have been seen floating around the sand in the dark, seemingly without a source. Laughter and the sound of conversation can be heard even though it'll be the dead of night. There have even been some disappearances at this beach before. Some tourists going out at night for a stroll and never being heard from again. A really scary account says that a man was found dead on the beach with his tongue popping out of his mouth. It was positioned in such a way that the investigators couldn't come up with a logical reason as to how he died and ended up like that. It's currently unclear why the spirits like to come out at night and not in the daytime. Some believe it's because nighttime was when the rituals would take place, but others just think that this time of day is more susceptible to paranormal activity. Whatever the case may be, if you're visiting Dumas Beach, make sure that it's always in the bright light of the sun, or else you could be in for some trouble. Number 3 on this list is Jatinga. At this point, I've read and heard hundreds, maybe even thousands of scary stories, but I've never heard of one quite as unique as what's going on in the village of Jatinga. Jatinga is a small village with less than 3,000 total people living there. Even though it doesn't have a large population of humans, it does have a large population of birds that live around the area, and that particular haunting that we'll be looking at actually concerns them. There's a phenomenon that occurs here that's been named by the locals and those studying it as the bird suicides. That's right guys, at this one particular village, birds will actually take their own life. Apparently they fly in one direction together towards the sun and then all simultaneously plummet to the ground and die upon impact. Oftentimes this takes place on several occasions during September and October of each year. Some experts believe that this is just a coincidence and several birds have got disoriented, crashed into something, and then died, but locals think that there's a curse. Where it originated from, they're unsure of, but they believe that the village is haunted and evil spirits have caused these birds to take their own life as a means of terrorizing the villagers. I, for one, honestly can't imagine how unsettling it would be to have several birds falling from the sky regularly taking their own lives. Also, if we just step back for a second and acknowledge how actually crazy this whole phenomenon even is in the first place. A bunch of birds in this small village of 3,000 people will fall to the ground and die every year at the same time. If that isn't something out of a horror novel, then I don't know what is. Number 2 on this list are the forts of Bhangarh. This fort in India is one of the most haunted spots in the country and has incredible amounts of lore surrounding it. A tourist tells the legend of the fort where she writes, "The guide told us of the beautiful princess Ratnavati, who was the daughter of Shatter Singh. She was the jewel of Rajasthan. Ratnavati was much younger than her stepbrother Ajab Singh and was as universally liked as he was disliked. Tales of her beauty and delightful temperament spread far and wide, and she received many marriage proposals. A tantric priest who was well versed in black magic fell in love with her, but knowing that he didn't stand a chance with the beautiful princess, he tried to cast a spell on her. Seeing the princess's maid buying perfume for her in the village, he cast a spell on it so that Ratnavati would fall in love with him. Ratnavati came to know of this and threw the bottle. It turned into a boulder and hit the tantric. He was crushed under its weight, but before he died, he cursed the princess, her family, and the entire village. The next year, a battle was fought between the forces of Bhangarh and Ajabgarh, which led to the death of Ratnavati and most of the army. This is the ancient legend that surrounds this fort, but many modern ghost stories have been told as well. Many of the locals believe that this place is the home to some devilish characters. This is due to all of the people that have gone missing at this location. It's believed that some ghostly presence is snatching people away. The purpose of these abductions are unknown though. It's also believed that due to that ancient legend, no one can build a roof here. That any new structure will break and burn to the ground from the spirits that own this place. Some apparitions have also been seen, with many people reporting that it was a lady that they saw. It's currently unclear if that's the ghost of Ratnavati or someone else who's been wronged at this location. The scariest part about this place is that you could literally never leave. To get abducted or to go missing is pretty freaking serious, and if there's some sort of entity that's doing this to people here or cursing them in some way, I'd avoid it at all costs. Number 1 on this list is Dow Hill. Dow Hill is a hill station, which if you didn't know, is a small town that's located at a higher elevation than the nearby plain. Most places that you look up on the internet, they'll have a Wikipedia page, some other articles, a TripAdvisor, and then maybe get into the haunted stuff. Look up Dow Hill, it's all about this place being haunted. Killings, disappearances, satanic rituals, all of these have happened in Dow Hill, and they've undoubtedly left their mark on this tiny little town. Several different ghosts and hauntings currently riddle this place. One of the most popular is that of the Headless Boy. There's a road that's been nicknamed the Death Road that goes from Dow Hill to the forest's office. This Death Road is the home to the Headless who marches along the side of it and will often appear to unsuspecting visitors. This death road heads straight to the forest's office, but things just get worse when you get there. Apparently, glowing red eyes have been spotted coming out of the forest, the sort of eyes that don't belong to any typical animal. There have also been sightings of a woman, not in white, but actually in gray rags, that wanders around the forest looking lost and destitute. This is already enough to make me not want to go, but they also have a haunted boys' school at Dow Hill. Whisperings, footsteps, doors slamming from thin air, screams, cries, laughter. This can all be heard from the apparent nothing inside of this boys' school. All of this makes Dow Hill one of the most haunted spots in India, and definitely a place that you need to keep off of your travel list.
Coming in at 5, Garuda. Garuda is a legendary bird or bird-like creature in Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain mythology. He is variously the vehicle mount of the Hindu god Vishnu, a Dharma protector and Astasena in Buddhism, and the yaksha of the Jain Tirthankara Shantinatha. It is described as a kind of bird and a kite-like figure. He is shown either in zoomorphic form or in anthropomorphic form. Garuda is generally a protector with power to swiftly go anywhere, ever watchful, and an enemy of the serpent. In Hinduism, Garuda is a divine eagle-like sunbird and the kind of birds. He is said to be a powerful creature in the epics whose wing flapping can stop the spinning of heaven, earth, and hell. He is also described to be the vehicle mount of the Hindu god Vishnu, as I previously mentioned, and typically they are shown together. Garuda's links to Vishnu, the Hindu god who fights injustice and destroys evil in his various avatars to preserve Dharma, had made him an iconic symbol of king's duty and power, an insignia of royalty or Dharma. His eagle-like form is shown either alone or with Vishnu, signifying divine approval of the power of the state. He is found on the faces of many early Hindu kingdom coins, with this symbolism either as a single-headed bird or a three-headed bird that watches all sides. Throughout the Mahabharata, Garuda is invoked as a symbol of impetuous violent force or speed and of martial prowess. Coming in at 4, Makara. Makara is a legendary sea creature in Hindu mythology. In Hindu astrology, Makara is equivalent to the zodiac sign Capricorn, which is my sign. Makara appears as the Vahana of the river goddess Ganga, Narmada, and of the sea god Varuna. Makara are considered guardians of gateways and thresholds, protecting throne rooms as well as entryways to temples. It is the most commonly recurring creature in Hindu and Buddhist temple iconography, and also frequently appears as a gargoyle or as a spout attached to a natural spring. It is generally depicted as half terrestrial animal in the frontal part and half aquatic animal in the hind part. Though Makara may take many different forms throughout Hindu culture, in the modern world its form is always related to the marsh crocodile or water monitor. Makara has been depicted typically as half mammal and half fish. In many temples the depiction is in the form of the half fish or seal with head of an elephant. It is also shown in an anthropomorphic with head and jaws of a crocodile, an elephant trunk with scales of fish, and a peacock tail. Lakshmi sitting on a lotus is also a depiction in which she pulls the tongue of the elephant-shaped Makara is meant to project Lakshmi's image as the goddess of prosperity, wealth, and well-being. It represents a necessary state of chaos before the emergence of a new state of order. Coming in at 3, Ganda Berunda. The Ganda Berunda or Berunda is a two-headed bird in Hindu mythology, believed to possess immense magical strength. It was the emblem of the erstwhile kingdom of Mysore under the Wadiyar kings, and after India attained independence, it was retained the Mysore state as its emblem. The bird is generally depicted as clutching elephants in its talons and beaks, demonstrating its immense strength. In the Chennakeshava temple of Belur, Karnataka, Ganda Berunda, the two-faced bird, is carved as a scene of chain of destruction in which a deer becomes prey to a big python, which in turn is lifted by an elephant. A lion attacks the elephant and the lion itself is devoured by Ganda Berunda. The Ganda Berunda was later identified as a physical form displayed by Narasimha, man-lion incarnation of Lord Vishnu. After Lord Narasimha had slain the demon Hiranyakashipu, he clung on to his dreadful form. The Devas were even more afraid of Lord Vishnu than they were of the demon. In order to protect the entire creation, Lord Shiva incarnated as Sharaba, a part lion and part bird beast. This further angered Lord Narasimha, who took the form of Lord Ganda Berunda, who fought Sharaba for 18 days and held him between his two beaks and ripped him apart, thus killing him. Coming in at number 2, Ahai of Vritra. Vritra is a Vedic serpent or dragon in Hinduism, the personification of drought and adversary of Indra. Also identified as Asura, Vritra was also known in the Vedas as Ahai. He appears as a dragon blocking the course of the rivers and is heroically slain by Indra. According to the Rig Veda, Vritra kept the waters of the world captive until he was killed by Indra, who destroyed all the 99 fortresses of Vritra before liberating the imprisoned rivers. The combat began soon after Indra was born, and he had drunk a large volume of soma at Vashtri's house to empower him before facing Vritra. Vashtis fashioned the thunderbolts for Indra and Vishnu when asked to do so by Indra, made space for the battle by taking the 3 great strides for which Vishnu became famous. Vritra broke Indra's 2 jaws during the battle, but was then thrown by Indra, and in falling crushed fortresses that had already been shattered. Indra became known as Vrtranan, meaning slayer of Vritra. However, the story changes in Puranic and later versions. As told in the narration given to King Yudhishthira in the Mahabharata, Vritra was a demon created by artisan god Vashta to avenge the killing of his son by Indra. Vritra won the battle and swallowed Indra, but the other gods forced him to vomit Indra out. The battle continued and Indra was eventually forced to flee. Vishnu and the sages then brokered a truce, with Indra swearing that he would not attack Vritra with anything made of metal, wood or stone, nor anything that was dry or wet, or during the day or the night. Indra instead used the foam from the waves of the ocean to kill him at twilight. Sneaky sneaky. And finally coming in at number 1, Sharaba. Sharaba or Saraba is a part lion and part bird beast in Hindu mythology who, according to Sanskrit literature, is 8-legged and more powerful than a lion or an elephant, possessing the ability to clear a valley in just one jump. In Sanskrit literature, Sharaba is initially described as an animal that roared and scared other animals in the hills and forest areas. In the great epic Mahabharata, this form of Sharaba Sharaba was defined as a lion-slaying monster with 8 legs, eyes on the top, living in the forest in which ate raw flesh. It is also mentioned as residing on Mount Karuncha, but not as a monster, but as an ordinary beast along with lions and tigers. Sharaba appears primarily as the incarnation of Lord Shiva, as a name of a monkey king in the epic Ramayana, also as a proper name of heroes and serpent Najas, and one of the names of god Vishnu as well as Buddha. In Puranic literature, Sharaba is associated with the god Shiva, who incarnates to subdue fierce manifestations of Vishnu. The man-lion form of Vishnu brings about the rivalry between the devotees of Vishnu and those of Shiva. Sharaba is portrayed with 2 heads, 2 wings, 8 legs of a lion with sharp claws and a long tail. Sharaba is also described as black in color with 4 feet downward and 4 feet uplifted, with an enormous body. It also had a long face and nose, nails, 8 legs, 8 tusks, a cluster of mane, and a long tail. It jumped high repeatedly, making a loud cry.
Number 5. The Ghost. Coming up first today in our list of real, scary, demonic footage from the beautiful country of India is this particularly threatening video that's been making the rounds online, which, if you believe some commenters, may have proof of ghostly life on it. Or unlife? Is that more correct? Anyway, let's roll the clip and let's take ourselves a look. This white-clad ghost was caught walking on the rooftops of Varanasi in the VDA colony located in the Badi Gabi area. Now in this video you can see a shadow walking on the rooftop of a house and that pale, ethereal, ghostly figure seemingly blowing in the breeze. Now when the video was shared, it went viral quickly on Twitter, causing a small panic amongst local residents who demanded that there was a formal investigation made by police. Do you guys not know? Have you guys not heard? Has this not reached you? That is not the team you're supposed to call when there's something strange in the neighborhood. You call the Ghostbusters. They have a whole song about it. Now of course, not everyone bought immediately that this mysterious figure was a ghost. More than a few commenters on the original video suggested that it was just someone hanging their laundry out to dry, and the video was little more than all of us letting our imaginations run wild. I gotta be honest though, if it was late at night and I was on the rooftops of India, I think I would definitely be freaked out seeing this, because it does look like a ghost, even if it does look an awful lot like a bedsheet or someone in a Charlie Brown ghost costume. Sure, it could be a human tendency to form anthropomorphic patterns and objects we don't quite recognize, but it's also entirely possible that it is a ghost. I tried to do some follow-up on this. I was trying to figure out if the local police ever did end up investigating this, but I really don't think they would have been much help. You can't really arrest a ghost. Their hands would slip right on through the handcuffs and you would look just ridiculous. How are you gonna keep a ghost in jail? It's gonna walk right through a wall. You can't arrest a ghost, is what I'm trying to get across. And if you're looking for more footage of ghosts that cannot be arrested, Top 5 Scary has all of that and then some. Oh, you better believe. If you can think it up, there's a good chance we've done 2 or 3 videos on it. Ghouls, goblins, aliens, conspiracies, megalodons, everything and more. So hit subscribe. Please make sure you ring that little bell as well so you don't miss a single one of our videos, but do that at the end of this video, okay? Because I got 4 more freaky things coming out of India to show you right about now. Number 4, the pale figure. Now coming up next is a clip, also out of India, believe it or not, you know they're all going to be out of India, that went viral last year and captured the attention of paranormal enthusiasts, alien hunters, and skeptics alike. It's nice when you get everyone together like that. We all get equally confused by what we're watching. A strange humanoid-like figure was spotted walking across the road in India, confusing just about everybody. Whatever it was filmed walking alone steadily on a bridge at night in Jharkhand in eastern India, staggering through the night. Now the thing resembles a human, that much is sure, and that's what my brain tells me it should be, but the more you look at it, the more you start to wonder if maybe, just maybe, it might be something else. The creature is real gangly and has these long arms and pale white skin and a very skinny torso, and sounds a bit like your host actually, if I'm being honest. It looks a great deal more like a Silent Hill monster than it does a person. Motorcyclists were swerving out of the way of the figure, which stops and stares at them a bit before continuing to stroll onwards. Now naturally, footage this weird has people talking and wondering as to just what the heck this thing could possibly be. More than a few people suggested it could be an alien walking around the streets at night, explaining why it seems so confused about where it is. Others suggested a ghost, which would definitely be pretty spooky. It seems like it's in the physical plane though, so I don't know if it's a ghost. Finally, there's the realists, who have suggested that this could just be someone who had a long night and is lost, trying to find their way home, possibly on 1, 2, all of the substances, trying to get a good night's sleep. Now, I did some digging. As far as I know, nobody cracked this case, so we may never have a satisfying answer. So that is your cue to speculate and sound off in my little comment box. Number 3, a UFO over India. Coming up next is this clip shared online with the caption, "A weird set of lights above New Delhi." Let's take a little look-see. So in this clip, pretty clearly we can see some strange happenings going on in the night sky. There's a scattering of lights above the city's horizon. Now immediately your first thought is probably to suggest that it might be drones, which is very reasonable. I feel like drones turn out to be a lot of UFO sightings. But the original poster states that drones really are not common for civilians in India at all and are even outright illegal in some parts of the country. And on top of that, the area that he's filming is said to be in the slums, where it is extra less likely that anybody's got any drones to spare. The video, when it was originally posted to Reddit, the poster added this for context. He said, "I saw this today around 8 p.m. in New Delhi with a friend. It was massive. This cannot be a building, as there is no tall building in that direction, only slums with a maximum height of 4 to 5 floors, but these lights looked as tall as the Burj Khalifa. There was a moderate wind going on, and I thought, if it's drones, why aren't they swaying? Not to forget, drones are illegal in India and especially in New Delhi. It looked massive in the sky. I wish the camera saw what my eyes could see, because it absolutely blew me away. I've been to drone shows, but this looked nothing like it. Any idea what this could be?" Now, some people in the comment section on the clip originally posted suggested that maybe this was a laser light show, but that was just speculation and nothing concrete. A particularly good selection that I enjoyed was that the original poster should have ran towards the lights to see what happens, live a little. Worst case, yeah, you get abducted, but you would get the ride of a lifetime and an amazing story to tell people. Just live a little, And if a UFO is not quite demonic enough for you, terribly sorry about that. Hopefully this next one will change your mind though. Number 2, the mutant goat. Coming in at the next spot, something a teeny tiny little bit different from others. I figured we'd take a small break from pale figures on CCTV and strange lights in the sky, and we'd show something we can all enjoy, something that's fun for the whole family, really bringing everybody together. Mutant goats. On August 16th, a Facebook user named Samira Isa posted these footage of a strange goat that she had discovered. Now, I don't know about you, I already find a goat kind of strange. I think they're definitely one of the most demonic animals by nature. If you've ever heard a goat scream, you definitely know they've got some evil inside them, but this one is on another level. As you can see right away, this goat came out with a face looking a lot more like a human's than a goat. The creature's got a long jawline, a huge nose, and almost like elf ears. It is not hard at all to see why this thing was freaking people out. I think if I saw this writhing and moving in person, I would be running out of the room, grab myself a Bible, a rosary, and some holy water, see about exorcising this demon mutant ghost. Goat. Mutant ghost goat. As soon as the mutant goat was born, it started capturing people's attention, unsurprisingly. Some were afraid the creature was demonic in some way. Others worried the creature was a byproduct of some twisted scientific experimentation. Not 100% sure what the purpose of making a goat with a human face would be. I don't know the practical application of that, but I don't question the facts, I just blindly repeat them. Now, others wondered if this creature hybrid came about naturally, if this was a merging of a deer and a zebra, or a cow and a goat, or a dog and a goat. I don't really know about all that. I'm not a science man, I'm not a scholar, but I don't know if that works the way it does. It might just be a horrific birth mutation that caused this goat to come out serving evil, or could it be something significantly more sinister? Something supernatural we couldn't hope to explain hiding away in those hooves? I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to know. I'm fine with the human face goat and me living on different continents. At number 1, the mountain lion ghost. And in our final spot for today is going to be this ghost footage coming out of Dehradun, India, that's got the internet on fire and paranormal investigators gluing their eyes to the screen to try and figure out just what was caught on camera. This clip was originally posted to Reddit on the ghost subreddit, not to spoil too much which allegedly is in this video, but allegedly it's a ghost. The original uploader claims that people often hear these spine-chilling cries and screams coming from the railway tracks at night when there's no one around, with locals claiming that the screams come from the restless spirit of the woman who died in a train accident in that place, crying out in agony for those doomed to hear. Let's roll that clip so we can put you on edge tonight. I want you sweating. You hear that? Hard not to. Sounds like a screech that goes right through your ears and sticks into your heart, causing your hairs to stand up so straight you could use them as a level. Now, not everyone is as convinced as your easily convinced host that this is proof of a ghost. There were more than a few commenters who suggested that this screech wasn't from a ghost, but rather from a mountain lion, which is kind of like a ghost if a ghost was an alive, really big cat. Now, I'm a young Canadian man, I've got lots of experience with cougars and mountain lions too, and it definitely does sound like a big cat's growl into the night. They definitely sound terrifying. I think this is a rare case in which the sound that's making the creepy noises that isn't a ghost is worse than if it was a ghost. I would rather be haunted than go toe to toe with a mountain lion personally. I know there's at least a chance I could survive fighting a ghost, like a little bit.
Coming in at number 5, we've got Kuninala. We'll kick off the list with a tale that seems to transcend geography entirely, the tale of the disappearing hitchhiker. Kuninala is India's answer to the ubiquitous urban legend. For those unfamiliar, the disappearing hitchhiker is the tale told around the world with different variations based on where exactly it's being told. Usually it involves a downtrodden person looking for a ride on the side of a remote road. If you give them that ride, they'll enter your vehicle but disappear soon without a trace. If you ignore them, you'd better be ready for trouble. Back to Kuninala. It's been said that there is a stretch of highway known as a hot spot for misfortune. Accidents would occur regularly, earning it the name of Kuninala. Soon, people began to believe that the whole area was haunted. These beliefs were compounded when reports of ghostly women started cropping up. People told tales of seeing a woman in a black sari holding a baby, trying to flag down vehicles. If you pick her and the child up, they'll get in the back, remain quiet for a bit, and then disappear entirely. However, if you ignore their pleas, the woman will curse you, dooming to die in a car accident. The amount of accidents around here are high too, making the tale of the dangerous woman even more believable. Make sure you're being a good Samaritan when cruising the back roads, eh? Coming in at number 4, we have the Jinn house. A Jinn is an intelligent spirit that may appear in many different forms. Often they're malevolent, causing problems for people all over the place. Sometimes they will possess people, other times they'll lead them astray. However, like most ghostly figures, it is possible for a Jinn to have good intentions. But that's not the case in this tale though. People tell of a house haunted by such a spirit, the location of which seems to vary. It seems that there was once a family who lived in said house, but they were scared off by the spirit. Or maybe something more sinister happened. These days though, the Jinn is more likely to get into harmless trouble. Mostly. Apparently it will throw visitors' shoes out of the house. See, it's considered good manners to remove one's shoes before entering a home in India. The Jinn uses this as an opportunity for mischief, throwing the unattended footwear out onto the street. Many have claimed that they never believed this, and that is until they saw it with their own 2 eyes. You might think that a few flying shoes wouldn't be enough to condemn a house as haunted. Maybe somebody's just pulling a harmless prank after all. However, there have been reports of odd and upsetting sounds coming from within the house too, making the haunted tales seem a little more real. Add in the fact that many have reported becoming ill soon after entering, and you've got a house that might be best left alone. Who knows? Maybe the house is structurally unsound and the Jinn is actually a friendly one, encouraging people to leave before it falls in on them. Or maybe I'm just being optimistic. Coming in at number 3, we've got ghastly future seers. Folks who claim to be able to see the future are found in pretty much every culture too. There's something about not knowing what will happen next that makes some people desperate for information. So of course, psychics and soothsayers have come out of the woodwork to try and leverage some expertly vague predictions. However, when somebody can predict events extremely accurately over a short period of time, you have to wonder if something paranormal is going on. There was a case in Panchgani where a woman claimed that she could see 15 minutes into the future. At first, her family thought she was joking. Soon, she was able to tell them exactly what would happen over the next 15 minutes with incredible accuracy. This both impressed and terrified her family. After her predictions became more truth than fiction, she started denying herself food. She wouldn't eat, drink, or take medication. To make matters worse, the family refused to seek help for her as they were afraid of the stigma surrounding her purported abilities. They were eventually able to get some help from a paranormal investigative team who brought holy objects imbued with positive energy. The prevailing theory was that the woman was possessed by a dark spirit who was then using her for personal gain. A side effect of this was her future sight. Once the paranormal team showed up with their implements, the spirit appeared to leave her body, taking with it the Nostradamic effects. Could demons and spirits provide us with visions of the future? It's hard to say for sure, but this story seems to say so. Coming in at number 2, we've got the Lonavla ghost. This tale comes from a member of the Indian paranormal team. They've been investigating paranormal activity for the better part of a decade, doing plenty of ghost walks in purportedly haunted areas all over India. A lot of the places they visit have, well, exaggerated reputations, but apparently a trip to Lonavla uncovered more than what they bargained for. Lonavla is known for being a romantic getaway of sorts, with plenty of greenery and tiered waterfalls to boot. Apparently ghosts find it an attractive place too. The team member who told the story was with 4 other people, and they had stopped their car for a smoke break. The wind was blowing westward, and all of a sudden a can flew south against the current. The group was a little freaked out by this. They went back to the car and found that the windshield was totally fogged up from the inside. At this point they knew something was up, so they asked any presence to reveal itself. Nothing happened, so they all got in the car. Right before they drove away, there was a knock at the window. However, the 5 paranormal investigators were sure that they were the only ones around. After this knock, the car began to shake violently. One person described it as if they were in a tin of biscuits. Being seasoned paranormal investigators, they all took out their recording devices. A woman could be heard speaking in Marathi and told the tale of her death. She and some friends had come out to Lonavla and were lost. Before she could find her bearings, she took a wrong step and fell off a cliff, and she's roamed the area as a ghost ever since. The team asked if there was anything they could do to help her pass on to the next life, but she never responded. So take this as a warning. No matter how picturesque a location is, there might be something sinister lurking in the shadows. And finally, at number 1, we've got the Udhampur Army quarters. This one is well known enough that people will tell you to actively avoid the area if you're on vacation. This old military compound is said to be haunted by supernatural souls. Locals have seen floating apparitions for years. These specters will appear in the sky for a few seconds at a time before disappearing into the dark. To make things spookier, as these spirits fade away, they make weird noises and produce flashes of light. This petrifying display has disturbed folks for ages. Some say that these figures are the ghosts of long-dead soldiers visiting their old stomping grounds. Others claim that they're apparitions of ghouls visiting Earth looking to cause trouble. Even though these oddities have only been spotted between 1 and 3 a.m., many warn people away from the area entirely. You can never be too careful, apparently.